The defense began presenting its case today, calling 2 fellow Navy SEALs to the stand, but it was developments outside the courtroom that drew the most attention. Will Navy SEAL Corey Scott be charged with perjury? The question comes after an email from Navy officials was sent to Scott's attorney this week. It said the Navy is considering charging Scott with lying under oath during Gallagher's court-martial. Last week, Scott stunned the courtroom by testifying he killed the ISIS detainee, not Chief Gallagher. Scott's attorney today had no comment. However, during court proceedings, the judge told the courtroom those who testified could only be prosecuted if they lied on the witness stand and not for their previous statements.
If they charge Corey Scott, it's pure retaliation.
Defense attorney Tim Palatori.
I think if the Navy tried charging Corey Scott with perjury, that would probably be the only thing more stupid that a prosecutor could do than to try and bring a murder case based on this evidence.
Also on the stand today, other SEALs who served with Chief Gallagher in Iraq back in 2017, including Master Chief Brian Alazawi and Petty Officer Joshua Graffam. Both testified they had no problem with Chief Gallagher's leadership and that they never saw him shoot at any civilians. They also told the jury they had heard rumors there was tension between Chief Gallagher and his platoon members. Master Chief Alazawi says Chief Craig Miller told him he didn't think Chief Gallagher should lead or get a Silver Star.
They wanted him removed from his position. They wanted his promotion taken away. He wanted the medal put on hold. They wanted all these things without giving him his day in court, his opportunity to defend himself.
Master Chief Alazawi also testified in January of 2018. Some of the SEALs, including Miller, told him they were going to report Gallagher. Alazawi says he told them, quote, "There's a better way to do this." And the trial resumes tomorrow. Jurors will be watching a video deposition of an Iraqi general. We are expecting to hear closing arguments sometime early next week.